Now, before you book your flight to Denver for your house hunting trip, this might be the most important video for you to watch, because in this video, we're going to go over the top mistakes we see relocation buyers make time and time again when trying to find the perfect house and neighborhood for their new home in Colorado. Now, starting off, when you're coming out here for your house hunting trip, one of the top things that we recommend is trying to time it for a part of the year that you have not visited Colorado before, really to get a feel for what the different parts of the year are like with our 4 seasons. One of the number one reasons we see people relocate to the state is because they really love the Colorado lifestyle. And part of that lifestyle means that we have access to 4 seasons. So a lot of you guys are super excited to come out here for the variety of temperatures and just weather scenarios you're going to have. And it is really a great part of our state because the winters have a completely different feel than the summers, obviously. But one of the mistakes we see people make is that they've either only experienced one season or the other out here. A lot of people might have come out to Colorado for a ski trip and fell in love with the state. Now they're trying to make it their new home. On the opposite side of the spectrum, someone may have come out here to visit some family during the summertime, but they've never really gotten to experience a full, true winter out here. One of the good things about our seasons is that for the most part, they are fairly mild, especially when it comes to the wintertime. You're going to have much harsher winters in places like even Minnesota or North Dakota, or oftentimes like places on the East Coast. In Colorado, they are very mild, but we do have a real winter and it does get really cold out here. Now, if you're coming out here to Colorado expecting nice 74-degree weather all summer long, guys, you're going to be a little bit disappointed because it does get hot out here. And there are a few weeks in the summer that we will be in that 101, maybe 102-degree range. Now, it's not quite what you're going to experience down in Texas or Phoenix, but we do get real summers out here. So it is really nice when you're coming out here for a house hunting trip, or even if you're just trying to come out here and spend some time with the family to even decide if this state is going to be a good one for you to put on the list of potential places to call homes in the future. It is nice if you can try and time it for a time of year that you've not gotten to experience Colorado before. Now, this may be a little bit different depending on where you are coming from, but in reality, even though a lot of people say they live in Denver or are moving to Denver, people may not actually live right in Denver. Our channel is a perfect example. It is called Living in Denver. When you're just jumping on Google or YouTube, you might just punch in living in Denver because maybe you don't know what else to type. Well, fun fact, guys, people will just call so many different cities out here Denver. If I'm visiting another state, someone asks me where I'm from, I just say I'm from Denver. I'm not actually telling them I'm from Elizabeth, which is about 40 minutes southeast of Denver. And that's not just me, this is everybody in the state. So when you guys then get online to start your home search, you're planning your house hunting trip out here with us or one of our team members, if you're planning on just looking in Denver, there is going to be so much that you actually miss out on, because depending on your lifestyle and your wants and needs, chances are you're going to find a lot more of what you actually want if you're able to expand beyond the actual city of Denver. I think part of this is because the way our state is laid out. You know, we've got Denver that sits right in the middle of the state. And then if you take about a 45-minute driving radius around the outside of Denver, you are going to be able to reach pretty much any of our major Denver metro cities and suburbs, which means there are so many options for you guys. And this is why I say this is one of the biggest mistakes people make, is because instead of jumping on a Zoom call with us and going on this like 30-minute discovery call where we talk about what you're looking for in an area, what's most important for you and your family, and we're able to give our 2 cents on some places that you should check out, oftentimes you're coming out here for that house hunting visit and you're just leaving a lot of stones unturned because you might just be hyper-focused on this Denver name, not knowing that, again, people just kind of call everything Denver out here. So it is really important to take some good time and consider not just the Colorado lifestyle that you're looking for, but your family's lifestyle. What do you want your day-to-day to look like? Do you really need that close proximity to downtown Denver? Or do you want proximity to trails and mountain biking, or the best schools that are out there, or open space behind your backyard? Really taking that time to focus on not just Denver, but the surrounding 45-minute radius, which is honestly going to cover everything from Boulder all the way down to Castle Rock. Now, you might be coming from a state where having that city's name on your address is a very important thing. Like having that label on there actually matters, like it does some sort of designer bag or something, right?
The label, baby.
Well, Denver is not one of those places. And that is really good news, guys, because you can live honestly in any of these surrounding cities and metro areas that best suits your needs. You're not going to be losing any of your home value or anything like that just because it doesn't have the Denver label on it. Now, this goes perfectly into our next point because you really do want to make sure that you are choosing the right metro area. You know, there are major differences between North Denver and South Denver and the west side near the Front Range and then the east side out towards the plains. Now, even though all those areas are within 45 minutes of downtown Denver, you are going to find substantially different styles of living depending on which area you choose. So for example, if you are actually planning on getting out to the mountains every weekend and you really want the closest access to really good hiking and mountain biking and the best like real outdoor Colorado activities, if you're out on the east side near the plains, that is going to dramatically impact what you want your day today to look like. And honestly, one of the last things you want to do is pick a place, maybe find a really nice home on the east side of town, and you tell yourself that that extra 20-minute drive to the west side of town isn't going to impact you that much. But fast forward a year and you're not doing all the activities that you wanted. Your lifestyle here in Colorado doesn't quite look like the way you thought it would. And now you're having to sell just to get somewhere closer. It is better, guys, really to take the lifestyle component into consideration and explore all your options based on what these different areas have to offer. Now, if you're just unsure about which one of these areas you want to live in, this is where this house hunting trip is going to be really important for you. And what we typically like to do with our clients before you guys are coming out here on a house hunting trip is jump on a Zoom call with you guys, take 30 minutes and really find out what's most important to you and give you guys some landmarks to explore in each of these areas. Because part of it might be you don't know what's important to you yet, but you want to get to feel out all of these different locations. And what we can do on the Zoom call is we can lay out some key locations for you guys to go check out in each of these different areas so that once you guys are out here, you can take what we call a self-exploration day. That is one day where you can go and you can check out a couple neighborhoods in some of these key areas, in addition to maybe some cute little downtown spots or some of the shopping centers that you might be visiting on a day-to-day basis for all of your just normal day-to-day living. And then after you're done taking that day of just self-exploring, ultimately you're really going to be able to go through this process of elimination and eliminate a couple of those areas off the list. And then we can hyper focus on the areas that really did stand out to you. You know, sometimes people will be so hyper focused on being towards the mountains. And then once they get out here and they're doing that self-exploration, they're going and they're checking out a lot of these neighborhoods. They're feeling what it's like living that close to the mountains. And then sometimes they ultimately decide it's not that important to them, you know, and then maybe going a little bit further down south to Castle Rock or somewhere out east near Southeast Aurora, where you can get newer, bigger homes that back to open space still have some really good trails, or maybe you're by the reservoir. A lot of times that ends up being what they fall in love with. So it's really interesting because you can have one sort of like hyper focus in your mind, and then you come out here and you really just feel these areas out. And then oftentimes you're able to put on a completely different lens, and that can completely change the home search. Even if you're coming out here and you do feel hyper focused on one area, it still is really good to take a day of self-exploration, find out what you don't know, right? Go and check out some of these areas. You guys might really be surprised what you end up falling in love with. Now, I've mentioned a couple times about booking a Zoom call with us, and that is by far the best way to avoid any of these pitfalls that we're going over in this video. So that phone number popping up on the screen, give us a phone call or a text message. We'll get that Zoom call scheduled with you and walk you through all of these mistakes that we see and how you can avoid them and find out which one of these areas is going to work best for you. So whether you guys are looking to buy tomorrow or a year from now, guys, go ahead and call or text that number. We'd love to help you out. So with that being said, let's keep going. Now that's going to bring me to my next mistake that we see buyers make. And that is ultimately coming into town for this house hunting trip or exploratory trip, just really not prepared as best as you could be. This doesn't mean that you need to come in and have every minute of every day planned out, because that almost never goes according to plan. But here is a general structure that we see work well for the majority of our relocation clients. Now, as I mentioned before, it is best to jump on a Zoom call with us prior to your trip, because we can really help you plan it out and come up with a daily agenda for you. Now, almost always we recommend taking that first day or even first 2 days and having that be a self-guided, self-exploratory trip. Now, oftentimes people are in a situation like I just mentioned where they don't really know if they want to end up north or south or east or west. So it really is best for you guys to go and explore all of these areas. Well, what we'll typically recommend, depending on what part of town you're wanting to stay in, is you can take one day and just hit all the up north areas. Maybe you're checking out Longmont, Thornton, Erie, and Boulder, and Superior or Broomfield. And then you're taking the second day, and that might be your down south, and you might be hitting South Littleton, Castle Rock, Parker, maybe Southeast Aurora. So even some of those east and west areas will fall into a north or a south bucket. Now, your intention as you're exploring these north and south areas is not to fall in love with the home. Ultimately, it is to get a feel for the lifestyle and the landscape that these areas have to offer, and to ultimately see if you could picture yourself living there on a day-to-day basis. Now, after you've had a chance to explore, we are then going to touch base at the end of those days and see what you liked and what you didn't like. Now, the areas that we are deciding to hyper focus on, we can start diving into the homes. So that's when we're going to get together and we can go and we can look at homes that are in these specific areas that we know we already like. One of the worst things you can do is set up home showings too early, and then you go out there, you see the home and you like the home, but you're just not too crazy about the area. What works way better is knowing that we like the area, and then when we can focus on the homes, it's only that much more productive for you. In addition to that, this is where we like getting in a variety of homes. So let's say we know we want to focus on, let's say, South Littleton and Castle Rock. As we're setting up some homes on this house hunting trip, it's nice to be able to look at a pre-existing home, especially in like South Littleton, that maybe you have older remodeled homes out there that we can go take a look at. And then maybe we're also going and looking at some new builds out in the area. Depending on where you are with your timing, you might not be ready to make an offer on a home at this moment, and that's okay. But it is nice to see the variety of homes that's out there. There's going to be big differences in layouts between a 1990s remodeled home that you're going to find in Highlands Ranch and then a brand new build home that you're going to find in Sterling Ranch. I really like, after we get hyper focused on an area, to get you guys into a few of these homes just so we can really see and feel the difference between the year built, the layout, the finishes, all the things that you really do need to take into consideration when buying a home. Now, another key component to this house hunting trip is allowing time in your schedule to check out some neighborhoods at different times of day in different days of the week. So for example, a neighborhood in an area is going to look completely different at 4 p.m. on a weekday than it might at 9 or 10 a.m. on a weekend. So if your schedule allows, it is really good, especially if you are finding an area that you're really thinking you might like, to get out there at some different times of day, even if it's in the same day, to really get a feel for what the neighborhood is like, the types of people that live there, and how active a neighborhood is or how quiet and serene it might be. Now, once we've identified the area and the home, now we're going to be moving into this stage where we're starting to make some offers here in Colorado. Well, one of the mistakes we see buyers make is they're trying to negotiate offers here in Colorado, like maybe they have to negotiate them in their home state. Now, we won't go into specifics because there are so many variances to what I'm talking about right now, but just make sure, whether you're working with us as your agents or any other local agent, that they know what they are doing when it comes to making offers and that you're listening to their advice. Now, for example, maybe you're coming from New Jersey where offers are hyper competitive and there might be a certain way that they need to craft offers out there. Well, you might not need to do all those things out here in Colorado. In Colorado, we have very straightforward contracts, very straightforward and open communication from agent to agent. And out here, you're not really playing a whole lot of games on offers. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't need to be competitive in certain situations. It doesn't mean that there's not some fast decision making here in certain situations. But ultimately, what it does mean is that Colorado is a unique market. Every situation on every home is a little bit different. So make sure you've got someone that you trust, that knows the local market specifically, so that you're not over leveraging yourself or potentially under leveraging yourself and missing out on a great opportunity on a great home for you and your family. Now, finally, one of the other big mistakes we see people make when they are looking to relocate to Colorado is they're not taking into account HOAs or property taxes when it comes to their monthly payment or just their home search overall. HOAs are very common out here. It is going to be very hard to find a home that is not in an HOA community. Don't let that freak you out, because we hear from a lot of people that are moving here from a state that has just terrible HOAs.
Ah, novelty mailbox. That's a violation. Oh yeah, That's a violation.
For the most part out here in Colorado, the HOA companies out here that manage these communities are just big corporate-owned HOAs. It's not necessarily going to be this board of 10 neighbors that are governing the entire neighborhood and telling you what you can do with your home. You are going to have covenants and restrictions for the neighborhood, but mostly it's just making sure that people don't paint their house a crazy color or leave their RV or their boat parked in front of their house all the time, which honestly is just not the best for neighborhoods. But very rarely do we hear of just horror stories when it comes to, oh, this guy sits on the HOA in my neighborhood. You don't have a whole lot of that out here because, again, you just don't have these like hyper local HOA boards. Now, also when it comes to affordability with HOAs for a single family home in a master plan community, it's going to be fairly affordable, typically anywhere from maybe $50 to $85 a month. And that usually is going to include the parks, common area maintenance, trash, recycling, and sewer. Now, that will change if we're looking at townhomes. Townhomes can range anywhere from, I would say, probably $400 to $800 per month. $800 is going to be more on the high end. This applies towards condos as well. This is another big reason why a lot of people are coming out here. They're opting for a single family home as opposed to a townhome or a condo due to the expensive HOAs that you are going to find on those. Now, when it comes to property taxes, this is something that is going to vary greatly depending on the neighborhood that you're looking in. If you are looking in a well-established neighborhood, maybe it was built in the 90s or earlier, or even early 2000s, you might be looking at property tax from 0.5 to maybe 0.65 or 0.7 of the assessed value of the home. So that is going to be a substantial savings compared to a new build community where you're typically going to be looking at 1% to maybe 1.2% of the assessed value of the home. And if you're not sure what the assessed value of the home is as you're looking online, just use the sales price of the home, and that ultimately is going to get you close enough. Now, you may be asking yourself, why is property tax more expensive on a new build? On a new build, they have to account for all the new infrastructure that new build community is going to need, as far as like the sewer, the streets, the water lines they're going to have to run, the schools are going to have to allot for, the new police and fire departments, and just all the things that come with new build infrastructure. That is what's going to be wrapped up in that higher property tax. Now, what is really nice is that even with our higher property tax, it is still a lot cheaper than what a lot of you guys are paying depending on where you're coming from. So don't make the mistake. Make sure you are factoring in, I would say, estimate on the high end, 1% on property tax. If it ends up being lower than that, it's just a bonus, but also throw an HOA fee in there as well as you're pricing out these homes and trying to figure out what location is going to work best for you if you're trying to keep that monthly payment the priority in mind. Now, with that being said, these are the top mistakes that we see relocation buyers making when looking to move to Colorado. Make sure, guys, that you call the number below, book that Zoom call with us so that you do not make these mistakes, and we can help guide you through these and walk you through the specifics because, guys, we've helped literally hundreds and hundreds of clients move here from different states. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to selling a home where you're at and moving to Colorado and trying to make sure that you make the right decision for you and your family and picking the best place that's going to work for you guys. So let's jump on that Zoom call with you guys. We appreciate you watching us every week here, and we'll see you next time.